and now I work as a guy in a small technological startup, seeing most of the continents of the world, and now just kind of really happy to settle down in my home in Geneva, Switzerland, and write books. And passing over to Nathan for his introduction. And how do you pronounce your name exactly, Nathan? Is it Ameye or is it Amy?
It's just Amy. It's a lot easier than it looks, but I pretty much answered or whatever. I've gotten Ameye, all sorts of stuff, but it's just Amy. So I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, and you can tell that that's a strong influence on my first book because it's full of dice rolls. But at the same time, I was surrounded by family that worked on farms, some people who are craftsmen, some artists. And I really, I wanted to write my first book in this Midwest where I grew up and kind of pay homage to the family members and the people who taught me how to craft and hunt and fish. So I tried to bring a lot of that into this first book. So my upbringing was a combination of all of that and a lot of nerdy stuff. I read a ton of fantasy. So I really am happy to have launched Black Dawn through Shadow Alley. You guys have been an awesome team to work with. And so it's my debut and I'm super excited about it because it really brings so many of my various roots into play. So I'm excited about continuing it because, man, it's got a ton of potential. The first few books is mostly about protecting their home and finding a new home in a post-apocalyptic world. But the Fey Nexus reaches many different worlds and many different places. So I'm super thrilled about that. So yeah, that's me in a little nutshell in my first book. I was curious. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to kick it back to DJ with a couple of questions about Fivefold Universe, but
I didn't know.
So, what do you think, DJ? So do you have any questions for me first, or do you want to talk a little bit more about your new universe?
Actually, I do have a question because you were talking about how you grew up in a kind of farming community and with a lot of people who kind of knew how to do things themselves, which is something that, many of the readers will have kind of wandered away from living in cities and whatnot. And I'm just wondering, from the title of the book, is that linking to Red Dawn at all, or is that like completely separate?
Yeah, I mean, Red Dawn was definitely one of the sparks at the beginning. I'd say my story strays quite a bit away from Red Dawn since it's a more political invasion story, and this one's a full-blown apocalypse with demons, which Red Dawn was sadly missing. But I love the fact that Red Dawn has family dynamics, it has friendship dynamics, it has an ensemble from the very start, which is different because you get a lot of fun but very focused solo main character stories. And I think an ensemble has some, different things to offer. The first book just covers the first few days of this crazy apocalypse, so we don't get to delve into the mysteries that are behind it yet. But I lay some seeds to grow, and I think that's where, Red Dawn shown in one movie, but this Black Dawn, I feel like, can go quite a ways.
Nice. And that's actually cool. So you're starting from the beginning of the apocalypse, because, shows like The Walking Dead and 28 Days Later are usually like, they refer to it in the past, but it's way too awesome to actually put on screen. But you actually went in there and bit the bullet and wrote the apocalypse. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Thanks.
Cool. Well, a few things about the Fivefold Universe. So you can see in the cover to my left, like James said, we're doing things a little bit differently. It's actually a fully rendered 3D cover, so that character model is available. The ship is actually something we scoped out piece by piece, room by room. It's actually a 2 fusion exhaust ship with a whole fusion reactor and what's called an Icarus drive, which allows it to jump through the universe. And why we would go into that level of detail is actually because we're launching this not as a single book, not as a series, but as an expanded universe that other authors are going to be playing in. And I was actually, just like James was reading on his couch before this call started, I was sitting here doing some of the dev edits on the book that one of our other authors is writing on in this universe, which is actually about a man who leaves his homeworld, which is an ocean planet, to join the big bad federal fleet. And then after 50 years of doing crazy spy stuff and bombarding planets from orbit and doing orbital drops with a whole bunch of murder bots, he gets benched because he screws up and he has to go back to his small little island homeworld and realizes all the stuff that's changed in 50 years. So these books are kind of really, they're very character driven, they're very personal, and they're looks at, what the world would be like in the future. But it's also a really big and expansive universe, like the Star Treks, the Battletechs, the Warhammer 40Ks of the world, but also drawing on kind of some of my inspirations and some of my first loves in sci-fi, which were like The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Heinlein, all the Ian M. Banks books, and a lot of stuff from the Star Wars universe, of course, and really trying to bring that into something that the authors, like many of the authors we have in the column today, would be happy to write in, building all the lore out for that, giving the fans places where they can really interact with it and buy in and become what we call in the Fivefold universe immortals, which is kind of the core mechanic of that. And we're super, super excited to be launching somewhere between 6 to 9 books in 2021, and then more books in the future. So really looking forward to that. Yeah.
This is
Go ahead.
this is a big step for us because Shadow Alley traditionally has been more fantasy oriented. We have published sci-fi books in the past, but not a lot of them. Generally, we tend to lean toward Gamewood stuff or urban fantasy or more high fantasy side of things. And but I mean, a lot of us are space opera lovers. Grew up on Star Wars and on Star Trek and on Babylon 5 and on all of these wonderful shows, and we felt like that was something that was lacking and missing in sort of the umbrella that is Shadow Alley Press. And so we're pumped. DJ's been working really, really hard spearheading this project. It's his universe, and we're happy to and excited to pair with him. We're hoping to have that first book out. We're planning on a launch date sometime in March, so you should start to see rumblings of the Fivefold universe around March. And
you'll see it before then.
Well, hopefully you'll see it before then if we're doing our jobs right. But that's when you should be able to get your hands on the first book, and expect a lot from that. So if you're a sci-fi fan, just keep your head on a swivel because there's good stuff coming.
We just posted the link in the chat. Where you can go if you want to get more information about Fivefold or stay up to date on what the heck we have going on with all of that. You can go there, hit us with your email address, and you'll make sure not to miss out on any new and exciting things. We might send out some schematics. I think you get some pretty cool stuff. I think you even get a teaser, right? In our when you sign up, you'll get teasers and stuff too. So lots of good stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been building so many websites and doing so many things. I'm like, what does that do anymore? Like when you hit submit, where does that take you? Oh my goodness.
But before we go on to more Fivefold, I wanted to get back to Nathan because you said this is your debut book, right?
Yeah, first one.
So when you're writing, what's the kind of you talked about what you like personally. You as a writer, what are you trying to get on the pages, and how are you presenting that to the reader?
Oof.
What's the feel of the book?
Thanks for pitching me an easy one. Really, it's about resilience to me. I think, I don't know, these books like to move fast and have fun and be adventurous, but at the same time to talk about ingenuity and resourcefulness and digging deep and finding things that you didn't know were there, right? Both in yourself and in your environment. It goes right back to what you said about the characters, where the people I grew up with influenced them all. And those people could, do anything from shear a sheep to fix a fence, to fix a car, to re-roof a house. Like anything you wanted them to do, they would figure it out and do it. And at the same time, when you got them around a campfire, they were full of music and laughter and art. And so to try to bring all of that into a story was complicated, especially because I like to write really immersively. So it takes a little while to dig in. So I'm hoping some of it comes across, and I'm hoping I get to do more of it. But that's
awesome. And so would you say it's like an upbeat, or at least I guess a humanly hopeful view of the apocalypse?
Yeah, like, any apocalypse can get really dark really fast. I tried, I don't know, to focus on the hopeful parts, right? The friendships and the survivors, where it is an uplifting story rather than just being a grind you down story. And there's value in both. Like, it's not necessarily the right thing to do to cherry coat something so nicely, but at the same time, you can choose where to focus, just like you can choose where to focus your mind as a person. To your betterment, I think.
Cool. I try to do the same thing in Starborn Air. It's a crunchy universe. There's a lot of science. There's a lot of politics and economics. But I think if you've got the right characters with the right thoughts behind them, they can kind of rise above that and bring about the right outcome, just because they want to do the right thing and they've got the tools to do it. And I think that's actually our 10 minutes. So I'll hand it back over to Jeanette.
I was just about to open the screen share and just be like, so we're gonna just look over here now. No, I'm just kidding.
So real quick, I mean, so in summation, I have to ask Nathan, would you say that Black Dawn, a good summary would be the real apocalypse was the friends we made along the way? I mean, it sounds like that's it. No, but seriously, it's a wonderful book. Nathan's such a skilled writer, and if you guys haven't picked up Black Dawn yet, absolutely go pick it up. It's killing it on Amazon. Just go look through a handful of the reviews and you'll absolutely know why you should take the time to read this book. Yep.
I'm going to hop back on to our amazing PowerPoint. And actually, I'm going to scroll back through real quick these cover arts again, just because they're just amazing, and just show those one more time. So Fivefold Universe, pretty excited for book 1 there. We should have put we don't have good enough rough art for book 2 yet, but it's coming soon. Watch our space. Pretty excited. Up next. You guys excited? I'm so excited.
I can't even remember who's up next, but I am excited for whoever it is. It's going to be good, I bet you.
It's going to be Jess and Eden.
Oh!
All right. So Jess has had some pretty good stuff going on.
Jess is.
I'm working on it.
All right.
You go.
No. I don't. No, you introduce Jess. I'll introduce Eden.
Oh, okay.
Is that a fair compromise? Okay, fair compromise.
Apparently, we should have had our script in the beginning as well, you guys.
I don't do scripted events.
He doesn't.
Either free form or nothing.
I tell you guys that when we were booking this?
Nothing at all.
I was like, James doesn't do scripts. You can't script him. All right, so should I go back?
No, I don't know. You're calling the shots here, man.
Okay. Well, I already released it, and this has already been out in the world. So Jess, you may have seen this book, Bastion Academy, out in the world. It's I'm going to let her tell about it, but it's a cultivation-based novel. It's pretty awesome. And Jess actually is the author of the VGO Firebrand series as well, which if you haven't read, you need to read because it's real good. It's real good.
Yeah. And do we have a cover reveal? Because
this is what's up right now.
So this is book 1, and we are happy to say that book 2 gets ready to go live on pre-order today, and it will be out at the end of what's next month? February. At the end of February. Time has no meaning or space in quarantine. At the end of February, book 2 is going to go live, and we are super stoked to do the cover reveal for this one because it is amazing.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Woo!
Look at that.
Look at that. Man, that's a good looking cover.
That's a good looking cover. I really like that
one. Good stuff. I'm gonna go. Do you wanna introduce Eden?
Yeah. So this is So and then we have Eden Hudson.
I'm gonna leave these.
We have been graced with her presence because she lives in the backwoods of Missouri and is actually 3 bears in a trench coat for 250 days out of the year. It's only for very brief periods of time that she takes on human form and talks to people out in the wild. So we're very lucky to have her. She is like my favorite author. I'm sorry, Aaron. No, I'm sorry.
I wish you all could see my face right now. Like, what are you saying? We have like our entire author team on here.
And she's so good. She's the whole reason why we started publishing books. It's true. I'm always she's disappeared. She also does not handle compliments well. But she's an amazingly talented author. She's my co-author on the Rogue Dungeon series. We've also co-authored the Legend of the Tree Singer series together. She's the author of Path of the Thunderbird, which is an amazing cultivation series. And her current series is Death Cultivator. Book 1 has been out in the wild for a little bit, and book 2 is out as well, and she's working on book 3 at the moment. So this is the cover for book 2 here. And then we also have, I think, a cover reveal for a very exciting book that's coming out also sometime next month. In fact, no, definitely not sometime. We have a date. I don't know
February
what it is.
16th. My goodness.
She knows. She's got it unlocked. And it is Rogue Dungeon 5, which is...
I've already brought it up.
What's the name of the book? Dungeon Duel. Dungeon Duel is the name of that one.
You wrote that!
It is. It's excellent. It's the best book. And I always say that it's the best book in the series when I finish a book, but this one legit might be the best book in the series. So with that done, let's turn it over to Jess and Eden.
Okay, let me stop the screen share real quick, and then y'all can talk. Although I really wish when he had said those things that you could have seen my face, because
I'm so glad you couldn't see your face.
The horror. I was like, shut up.
Every author is here.
I'm like, literally every author is here. Like,
that's okay. We all know. It's okay. We all know. Eden is the greatest. She's fantastic.
Apparently he doesn't know the title of his own books. So
that happens.
There are so many.
Shouldn't listen to this guy anyway.
There are a ton. There are just so many books.
There are.
All right. Which is the reason why we're having the expo, because there's so many cool things to talk about this year. It's awesome.
So Jess, since we got to see your cool malware cover, can you tell us about Bastion?
I can. And I actually did also bring a prop. So slick. I like it a lot. Bastion was my first adventure into cultivation, and I have to say, like, I was so inspired by Path of the Thunderbird. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to write something this great. I don't know if I did, but I was just so
better.
No, I doubt that very much. But yeah, I've always been really inspired by Eastern culture, and I think it's just like beautiful and interesting, and sometimes really raw, and so it's like I really want to capture that. And I know there's been like tons of Chinese cultivation novels that have been published, and so I wanted to go a little different, and I focused on South Korea, and it's different in the sense that it's 2,000 years in the future post-apocalypse. So there's like a cool twist on the magic system that I'm not going to reveal, but you can make assumptions based on 2,000 years in the future post-apocalypse.
It is a really cool twist.
It focuses on...
Wish that you would tell everybody.
No, I can't tell anyone. But it focuses on the young man featured here, Jung, and whoever this minty hologram type looking woman is next to him. And it goes really kind of in depth about the world. The first book is very much about his journey from sort of this outer city poverty type situation, and he gets into a great school, runs into some trouble, and has to do some slightly shady things to get out of it. So, but you have so many amazing books going on, Eden. Like, which one do you want to talk? Do you want to talk about Death Cultivator? Do you want to talk about Dungeon Duel? I feel so bad. I've been rereading all of the Rogue Dungeon books because I'm so excited for book 5 to come out, and so I haven't read Death Cultivator yet. So maybe
that's okay. I'm okay. Sure. Death Cultivator is my sort of Star Wars type thing. It leans heavily into fantasy, but it's in another universe located on a prison planet. a kid from Earth dies under mistaken circumstances, and isekais, I don't know the word, over to this other universe where cultivation and magic run rampant, and he has to try to get his feet under him and learn what's going on there.
That sounds like a situation we need to know more about. Like, how did you write sort of the loneliness and desperation that comes from, like, I'm in a brand new world and I have no friends or family with me, and P.S. I died? What?
Well, good question. I should have thought about something like that before we started talking about this. No, Hake, the character, was pretty much a loner before he died, and he pretty much just had his grandpa, who he was taking care of, to rely on. So his journey in the story is more about, like, learning how to have friends and rely on them instead of thinking you have to shoulder everything by yourself. So it's kind of an ensemble shonen type cast.
Nice.
Which reminds me,
those.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Bastion is definitely a cast story. Who are your favorite characters to write about in it?
Well, being my dev editor, you know who my favorite character to write about is. It's, of course, Yuri. She doesn't show up until kind of midway through book 1, but she just has this no BS personality, and she's extremely upbeat. She's a little naive, which is kind of her weakness, but...
I love her. She makes me think of Toph off of Airbender.
Yeah, well, Toph is a little more grown up than I think Yuri is. Yuri's still a little childlike. She's been sheltered a lot of her life, and I kind of show some of that in the short story that I wrote that actually... Here's a good opportunity to talk about it. If you've read Bastion Academy Foundations, you can get the short story for free by signing up for my mailing list, which I'll toss something in the comments section later. But yeah, so that story focuses a little bit on her, and it's so much fun to write. It was a little gross and weird, but because she works in a sewage factory, right? But yeah, it was fun. So, okay, I have to ask this because Eden, you're so successful and cool and amazing. Her eyes get gigantic.
I think Eden's gonna melt into the floor.
Is there a question in there, or just heaps of praise?
No, just praise.
I may have to leave.
100% praise. The bears are gonna scurry off back to the universe. But no, seriously. I mean, like, when I think about success, I really hold you up and kind of look and be like, am I Eden yet? Not yet. Okay, I have to work harder. So what is your idea of success? Like, how do you get there? Are you there? How's your life? What's going on?
My life is great. I grew up in sort of, I wouldn't really call it poverty or anything, but like every now and then the electricity would go off and wouldn't come on until my parents paid the bills. So I always figured success as an adult would be I can pay my bills and I can buy food and like have security, you know, and I am there. I'm able, because of James and Jeanette and all of you guys' support and stuff, and all of the people watching support, I can pay my bills and stuff just through writing. So I feel like I'm there.
That's great. But but how would you say you carved your path there? Was it like luck. Sheer grit and luck? I was like sheer grit and determination. Just like writing the words.
No. Maybe. Like, there's that saying where money is made when other people are sleeping, and I don't know. So I feel like if you're working when other people aren't, you're getting closer to your goal. But it doesn't happen on its own. It's like, I don't know. I've been hugely blessed and incredibly lucky to have all you guys in my life and to be here now.
You guys are so
Jess
sweet.
is making hearts at me.
I do have to say from the comments that Travis Baldry, who narrated Death Cultivator was like, Death Cultivator is so rad.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Travis.
He's clamoring for book 3, Eden. He's clamoring for book 3.
Yes, he's like, where is it? Give
Soon.
me the book.
Hey,
Aw.
as long as Travis is here, you guys should all know he also makes really amazing video games, and you should all check out Rebel Outlaw Galaxy.
Yes. He's amazing. He's a really cool guy. He's really funny as well. He joined our Christmas party the other night, and it was like, wow.
Yeah, it was really cool to connect with him, like
Super
sort of
fun.
behind the scenes, and that was really
Super fun. So if you're looking for more narrated projects, you should check out Travis Baldry as well.
I'm actually listening to one of his projects right now on my morning walks, and it is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Which one are you listening to?
I'm listening to Unsold.
Ah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna switch back over to my share screen.
Thank you guys.
Eden and Jess, for being
You're both
amazing.
Thank you guys.
You're
Yeah,
amazing.
thanks for this opportunity. This is so great.
This is so fun. Okay, once again, just gonna go back through these covers so you can see. So this is the wonderful Eden's. We got Dungeon Duel coming out next month.
It's so good, guys.
So good.
It will knock your socks off.
We got
Poner Boner, I don't want to do like spoilers, but Poner Boner in hockey pads has to fight monsters in a Bed Bath & Beyond. So let that take you where it will. But it's incredible.
okay. And then Death Cultivator, the art for that. And I'm just going to scroll back real quick if it will let me. Maybe. To Jess's stuff for Bastion. It's pretty awesome. That new cover. First time. No one's seen it before.
Man, that's
that.
slick.
Such a good cover. Yep. I love the colors in it.
Shout out to George for the title treatment. It looks
Yeah.
super rad, bro.
Yeah.
Really like it.
Looks really good. All right. So up next we have, are you all ready?
The anticipation is literally killing me. I have no idea.
Well, it's you.
who is-
He literally can see the screen, you guys. Like, what a joke. All right, up next we have James, a hunter. And we have Aaron Michael Ritchey.
Oh, it's my BFF, Aaron Michael Ritchey.
#1 bestseller.
I talk to Aaron Michael Ritchey more than I talk to anyone other than my wife. I call him probably 3 times a week because I love talking with Aaron so much, and it's so fun just to get dosed up on all this crazy manic energy.
Get ready to get high just from the conversation they're going to have,
Oh
guys.
my God.
All right, so we have a cover reveal. Well, not cover reveal. This has just come out this week. So if you have not checked out Shadowcroft yet, then you're missing out majorly. Triple #1 bestseller.
And more than that, probably.
Well,
but it's
probably more
currently
than-
a triple #1
I think we've
bestseller.
already grabbed like 4 or 5 categories. Yeah.
But
really-
more
really good
importantly
stuff.
than the fact that it's selling good is that it's stupid funny. And I attribute that mostly to Aaron. Like, my books tend to be, I mean, it's give and take, right? Because most of my books tend to be a little bit more serious. But Aaron, and I think Aaron's books are mostly serious too, but Aaron and I have manic energy together. And so when we get together, it's just it's giant vortex of ridiculousness.
Okay, I'm just gonna finish going through the cover so that people can then see you talk.
Okay.
Because you're very, very animated. You and Aaron are very animated. So we just saw Dungeon Duel. And then you're gonna need to make sure to take your time to talk about this next one. This is a cover reveal. Other than a little sneak peek, I don't think anyone has seen this. I don't think anyone has really heard about this project. So this is the first time that the world is going to be really hearing about or hearing from James on this next project, which is...
Oh, yeah, that was a book that I wrote.
Vigil Bound.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I am not going to talk about that at all. I'm going to let that be the mystery, the enigma that drives your curiosity. All I really want to do is just jam with Aaron. Okay. All right.
And Aaron Michael Ritchey, also Shadowcroft, co-authored that with James. So there's that again. So now you've seen it twice, maybe more. So go buy it and read it. And then he also has a new book coming out in the Juniper Wars series, which I'm going to let Aaron tell you about. But I just have to say, I'm going to stop the share here so everyone can see my face. Okay, come on. All right. This series is like so good. It's the reason that we work with Aaron. I like picked up book 1 and couldn't put it down. It's so good. It's so unlike anything you've ever read before.
It is a steampunk
It is not steampunk.
It is a post-apocalyptic cattle drive in a dystopian American.
That's true.
I think that's how I've heard Aaron describe it before, and it's an amazing series. It doesn't get nearly as much love as it should for being as good as it is. Although the cattle drive only happens
for the first couple of books, and then it gets, the first couple are really, really good, but then it gets really really, really good.
All right, let's bring in Aaron, Michael Ritchey.
Aaron.
He's got his own theme song.
I do have my own theme song. I have so much to say, I don't even know where to begin.
Here, let me help you.
With lowercase e, why Eden has a lowercase e, or how wonderful Eden is, because Eden is objectively the best writer at Shadow Alley Press.
Why do you have to say that, Aaron? I have a question.
I'm number 2. Eden's number 1.
For you. I have a question for you to help guide the conversation. How awesome was it to work with me? On a scale of very awesome to incredibly awesome, where would you say that working with me on Shadowcroft ranks?
So basically, it's working with James, the birth of my daughter, and getting married.
Why can't Aaron's face on the feed?
Oh, no.
Tim, can you fix that?
You don't need to see me.
Yes, we do. Can I?
I'm old.
You keep talking. I'll look.
No, you keep talking.
Yes.
Well, I don't. No, if they can only see you, you should talk about Vigilbound.
No, I don't want to talk at all about that. I do. I will eventually talk about it, but that's a little ways down the road.
Hey, there I am.
Oh my goodness, large and in charge.
I'm so handsome.
No, so Shadow.
Dude, I need to work on my background because my background's almost there. I have my paparazzi, so I have to
It's true. It could use a little sprucing up, a little tidying up.
I should have done this for everyone, guys.
No,
I am so sorry.
No, it's good. Hey,
look at this.
This is my friend.
I should have learned that way earlier, but now I have it.
And James doesn't call me every 3 times a week because that would make my life too good. Every time James calls, it's just like this. I'm like the dog that the owner comes in. I'm like, oh, it's James Hunter. It's James. Oh my god. Yeah. I pee a little, but I shouldn't.
No, so Shadowcroft. Let's talk about it because it's so funny. For people who don't know, it's really weird. It's very wonky.
It's not, dude. So far, the reviews have not said weird.
Which is crazy because it's about a man who turns into a literal mushroom, and then has to complete an academy for monsters with all of his loser friends. It's really funny, and
with the satyr with a drinking problem, or does he have a goat problem?
We don't know.
He can go to treatment for the drinking problem, but how do you fix a goat problem?
So it's so funny. I was telling Jeanette about this book, and I was describing the main character. So there's sort of 4 of them there in the losers club, sort of. Logan is the main character, is the wounded vet who turned mushroom man, and Jeanette's like, okay, so obvious self-insert for James. And then I was describing Marco, and she was like, oh, so obvious self-insert for Aaron, right? Because Marco is just this over-the-top goat man who loves arts, and he creates these very thematic dungeons that don't kill any adventurers because he gets so lost in designing a beer fountain and weird muses and stuff, and it just, I was like, oh my god, Aaron literally is the real life version of Marco. So it's definitely worth reading. It's so funny, and Aaron and I had just a fun time of bouncing these weird ideas. It's a dungeon core novel, but it's really different than most of the dungeon core novels out there because it takes place in this magical academy setting where they're basically learning to become guardians of the Tree of Soul. Tree of Souls that sort of connects all of the worlds in the multiverse, and the heroes rate it because they want to become immortal, but at the expense of the universe. Basically, it's a zero-sum game, and as they steal this energy, it kills the universe by inches. And so the Guardians are appointed to protect this tree, but it's a pretty big responsibility, so they get carted off to Shadowcroft to learn how to not be terrible at protecting the most valuable resource in the universe. But it's really funny. There's lots of nods to other magical academy, stories, Harry Potter, and but
what's Harry Potter? I don't understand.
I don't know. It's this weird. It's this thing. It was like a 2000s thing, sort of.
Oh,
Yeah.
the girl with the frizzy hair. Yeah. That's right.
So,
No.
but Aaron, tell us your favorite part about Shadowcroft, and then tell us about Juniper Wars.
Well, no, my favorite. Shadowcroft was funny because it was like so we wanted to be funny, right? And I years ago I wrote a book called Sass McQueen and the Kung Fu Princess, which was basically like an Adam Sandler movie just with like middle grade kids. And so when James said let's go funny, that's the book I thought, and I love kind of over the top humor and just like, and the characters are funny. We have like this gnome that's like the most depressed gnome ever. His name is Treacle Glimmerhappy, and he was a little gnome, but now he's a big, huge, giant minotaur.
He's super clinically depressed. Like he's basically Eeyore.
Yeah,
but he's got the name Treacle Glimmerhappy. And he's a minotaur.
And he's always chewing his cud.
Dread.
Yeah, but he's always just like burping because he has all the stomachs, right? So he like burps up and he's like just chewing his cud. We're all gonna die. There is no hope. That's hilarious. How many Harry Potter had very little chewing cud chewing. Very like.
If I had to say, I would say liberally we have 100% more cud chewing than Harry Potter. And also 98% more existential dread. I mean, it's not.
Yeah. Write that down. I want to use that in marketing. 100% more cud chewing.
100% more cud chewing. And a guy who eats rotting. So I love it because normally he's kind of just this normal like human, but as he becomes a dungeon core, he has these digestion pits. So he stops eating basically because he's like, well, this is a waste of time. So he puts a digestion pit under his bed and throws rotten food in it. So, and he's like, and then that's so funny. Anyway, yeah. So James and I are working on book 2, which is I think is going to be better. Book 1 is super, super good, especially the end, and it's very kind of like
the end.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, but the end is so good.
But it's this very kind of climactic kind of like. But I think the second book is going to be better.
Travis Baldry just put in all in one word. Sages of the Underpass. Okay, thanks. Bye.
This was not Aaron's first cultivation novel. If you have not read Sages of the Underpass, it is such an incredible book. It's probably one of my favorite books that we've ever published, and it's incredible.
And you said it was almost as good as Eden's.
Is that what I said? I feel like
actually you said it's as good as Eden. That's what you said. You're like, dude, this book is as good as Eden. I'm amazed. Wow. I want to do a second Sages of the Underpass book, but and I'll probably be working on that time when I do Juniper Wars 6 because I'm going to be wrapping up that series, which is it's a post-apocalyptic cattle drive. I sometimes would say it's cowgirls with machine guns on a post-apocalyptic cattle drive.
That's really true.
But it has some pulp elements, but it really is kind of like the Waltons meets Mad Max meets G.I. Joe. There's a lot going on, and I love, and you kind of see book 5 is great because you kind of see the because when I first wrote it, everyone's favorite character was Red. Red Weller was the Han Solo. She was the like gunslinger, broken alcoholic sister who's just a nightmare, but she's great in a fight. And so I love book 5 because you kind of see Ren is no longer, well, what happens to Ren is terrible. So it's just the characters are tortured and it's so great. And you see kind of the youngest Weller sister, who's the POV character, you see her kind of descent into violence and becoming this person that she wasn't in the first book. So
I do have to say that where Shadowcroft has 100% more cud chewing and 97% more existential dread than Harry Potter, Juniper Wars probably has even more cud chewing and more existential dread. So if cud chewing and existential dread is your thing, in terms of books, you should start with the Juniper Wars and then move on to Shadow Crown. I feel like those are themes maybe that Eric didn't realize he has in his life as the chuck queuing.
No, I knew it. So really, kind of the root, like the stomachs. When I was, as an artist, I'm very attracted to like the idea of stomachs and the idea of digestion and regurgitation and rumination.
Whoa.
So
okay, let's.
I think J.K. Rowling did pretty good. She did fine. She did fine for herself with that whole Harry Potter thing.
Yeah.
Had she added a Minotaur that did have more cud chewing, maybe $2 billion instead of one. I mean, it's not a guarantee. I'm just saying,
and mushrooms, because mushrooms are
super cool. Chew on over and over again.
And mushrooms, right? I mean, really, what is like Harry Potter land or whatever? I don't even know. But I bet you there's not a mushroom forest with lots of spores.
It probably is.
Yeah.
I mean, she thought of everything. She's amazing. Okay, real quick, I do have to. So, obligatory Vigil Bound. So, Vigil Bound is a series I'm working on that'll come out later this year, and it is amazing. So, basically, what happened was I was working on Lazarus Book 6, and I love those books. They're fun. I like the shoot from the hip protagonist who is, really, the gung-ho shoot first, ask questions later type character. I like that character. It's fun to write. I love writing Jack in VGO, but Jack is like thoughtful and he's nice and he thinks through things. And Yancey Lazarus is none of those things. He is not thoughtful. He thinks through literally no things and doesn't care about consequences. And those are fun characters to write. So I thought, man, I want to write another character like that. So Vigil Bound follows this Marine who dies in the Battle of Felucia, and he also gets isekai'd away. He gets reincarnated as a Vigil on sort of the secondary world where he's a monster hunter. So it's got very Witcher-esque Dresden vibes. It's sort of high fantasy gamelit. But there's a lot of shoot 'em up action. He reincarnates. He wakes up sort of butt naked in this monster cave, and the only things that he has with him are the two weapons that he died with in his hands, which are a K-bar and a Colt 1911. And then he has to set on a warpath, figuring out where he is and why, killing monsters and piecing it all together with his new powers and abilities. So it's very action oriented, very fun, some really cool world building in terms of gamelit stuff. It's got a really unique magic system that I don't think that I've seen before. And I'm really excited for it to get out. So book 1 is done. It's getting ready to go to the editor.
It's coming out in April?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Somewhere in there.
We have to talk about when it's going to come out. But it's going to come out this year. And I'm going to be working on book 2. I'd really like to have 2 books in that series out this year. I would like to have them out after VGO 8, though. So we'll have to talk about timeline. But it's a really fun book. If you're not a member of our Shadow Alley Press Street Team, or our Team Alpha, if you're already in the Street Team, consider joining those places because we send out review copies of our books well in advance of release. And so if you're really like, oh my God, there's so many good things coming out and I want to see them before everybody else, you can join those places and you can get those books early for free.
Team Alpha is invite only, my friend.
That's true. But the stepping stone is the Shadow Alley Press Street Team. So if you're an avid reader, we're always looking for advanced readers to give us feedback on our books to help us with our launches. So consider doing that. But yeah, that's Vigil Bound.
Okay.
All right.
I think you guys took more time than you were supposed to, but I'm going to let that slide.
I always do that. I'm so sorry.
Are you though?
No, I'm not even remotely sorry.
All right. So I figured out how to do this spotlight thing, right? Which worked well, but now I don't know how to turn it off. So
don't we have to screen share?
Yeah, I'm going to screen share. Just one moment, please. I'm removing the spotlights to prepare for the next author coming in. And then I'm going to share our screen and show this amazing cover art again. Okay. All right. So there's Aaron's stuff again. Juniper Wars, book 5, coming soon. I don't think we have a release date set for that yet, but coming soon. And then, why is my computer not working? OMG, got a little sneak peek there. And then this is James's stuff coming up again for Shadowcraft Dungeon Duel and Vigil's Justice, the book 1 of Vigil Bound. Pretty exciting stuff.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we have Kenneth Arant.
Yes. Kenneth is an amazing author. He's the author of the Snake's Life series. So,
go ahead and bring this one up because it's already out.
Snake's Life is out. Snake's Path is book 2 in that series. And the upcoming release, which is due out in just about a month, is the 3rd book in the series called Snake's Rise. And are we sharing the
do you want me to cover review?
It's so good. I love all of these covers.
It's so pretty.
Look at that.
It's so shiny. Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's.
No, we're going to introduce both the authors.
Oh, that's right. There's 2 authors. There's 2 authors.
Goodness.
Man, I keep dropping
all right,
the ball.
And then talking with Kenneth today is going to be Travis Heermann.
Oh, so we know Travis from way back. So we're from Colorado originally, and Travis is a Colorado native, and he's an incredible author. He's been writing professionally for years and years and years and years and years, and we've been looking for a project to work with him on for just ever because we love Travis, and he is incredibly talented, and he's also just an all-around good guy. He spent several years in Japan. And so Tokyo Blood Magic, I think, is the result of that. So it's part cultivation, part urban fantasy, and it's got all of the best parts of all of those genres.
And Travis,
I'm sure
Travis
is going to tell you about those things.
Cover review.
But also an amazing storyteller, really good books. Book 1 is out. That's Tokyo Blood Magic.
Are you ready for a cover
and
review?
Book 2 is coming out shortly.
Now this is a mock-up, so it might have a watermark on there. We don't have the final cover yet. Are you ready for some unfinished cover art?
Oh my God!
I don't think anyone else out there does this. So here's some Oh no, it doesn't. I think it's good.
Yeah, so it's
not as high res.
That's the book 2 cover, Tokyo Monster Mash. So let's turn it over to Ken and Travis and let them tell us about their amazing books.
I'm gonna get you guys pinned here in just a moment. Apparently, I still have Aaron pinned. So let me just spotlight. There's Kenneth. Woo!
Hi, everyone.
And where is Travis? There he is. Let me pin you in here. There we go.
All right. Well,
that's
welcome.
so much nicer than. Sorry to all of the earlier authors that I didn't have this figured out for. But go ahead.
So Ken, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about what you're working on now, and just tell us about your books.
All right. Little background. My name is Kenneth Arant. I started writing on a platform called Roll Road a few years ago. That actually led to me becoming a professional author, and I released Snake's Life. That's actually where it started. Snake's Life follows Torga, a very hungry snake who is always on the hunt for new and exotic foods, houses, people, planets, stuff like that. And he keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he gets to a point where he realizes, I want to be able to interact with my wife in a meaningful way. So now I have to figure out how to get smaller, which was the kind of the point of book 2. Book 3 is deals with a little bit more serious stuff. It deals with Torga trying to kind of reconnect with his wife after being separated for as long as he was, and trying to figure out how to interact with her now that he's a monster and she's not. She's actually a monster hunter, so that's a fun relationship to try to write. But yeah, it deals with him trying to become more human as he interacts with his wife, and how he learns to respect the people around him a little bit more and not be so aggressive towards everybody. And he's trying to learn to be the man he once was instead of the monster. And he's doing this for her. He's doing this so that he can say that, hey, I still love my wife enough that I have all this power, and that's really cool, but I want to be able to actually talk to her without her dying. So he deals with that. And that's the overarching plot of book 3, is him trying to reconnect with his wife. And there's monster fights. And as you can see from the cover, he fights a dragon. He fights a skeletal dragon in the book. So there's still giant fights. He still is the same sarcastic, grouchy, very hungry boy he always was. It's just now he's trying to be a good husband this time, which is incredibly difficult if you've read the first 2 books and you know how Torga's personality is. So let's go to you, Travis. Mind introducing yourself to us?
Oh, sure. Hey everyone. My name is Travis Heermann, and I live in the Denver area, and I write lots of different things: science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And the Shinjuku Shadows books, of which Tokyo Blood Magic and Tokyo Monster Mash are the first two, are ways for me to go play in a sandbox that I dearly miss. Because as James said, I used to live in Japan, and I really enjoyed it a lot. So writing these books has been so much fun. But I do want to talk about your main character Torga a little bit. It sounds like you've got an amazing concept that's really steeped in mythology, right? Because from what I know about your books, you've got like the world tree in there, the Norse mythology stuff, and I don't know, how do you get into the headspace of writing a character that is not human, for instance? I mean, because the main character is a snake, right? This enormous snake. So yeah. What's that like?
It's a little bit difficult sometimes, because if you're writing a human, you can pretty much think of how a human would work. But with a snake, you kind of have to suspend a little bit of your, should I do this? You have to suspend your morality a little bit in order to actually write Torga correctly, because as a human eater, basically, as a man eater, and later as a monster completely, he pretty much goes around just eating people. I've seen a lot of people straight up call him a villain, and that's kind of what he is sometimes. But yeah, the Norse mythology stuff kind of plays into it a little bit, because the idea behind Torga was actually inspired by Jormungandr, the world serpent from Norse mythology. And then from there, it just kind of ballooned a little bit, and no pun intended, because Torga's kind of fat, but it's he just kind of ballooned up, and it grew from there. I started with Jormungandr, and I thought about writing a story about him, and then it just changed as I wrote the first book. And he kind of became his own character. He became this very grouchy, very sarcastic. He's always keen on getting the last word when he's having these verbal sparring arguments with people like Odin, with his future son-in-law, with his friends, and Fenris, who was his friend since the first book. He gets into these verbal sparring matches, and he always wants to have the last word, even if it means he has to play a little dirty to get it.
Do you just like sit and listen to Wagner all day to get into the sort of Norse mythology kind of headspace, or do you have your own playlist or something that feeds your snake?
So I do have a playlist. I listen to music basically all day. Helps me focus. When I'm writing Torga, I have to suspend a lot of my normal music, because Torga is very much he's a rock kind of guy. So whether it's slow rock or high pace rock or metal, like most of his fight scenes are written to either 3 Days Grace or Five Finger Death Punch. His normal stuff, AC/DC, Black Betty is a good song that I listen to while I'm writing Torga, just because I think it matches his personality a little bit. And sometimes when I'm writing stuff for Reyna or the other characters, I do swap genres over, so I get out of that headspace and I can more accurately write them. Like for them, I go back towards a little bit easier stuff. But Torga is usually I'm listening to rock music to the point where I'm pretty sure I've blown out at least 2 speakers while writing the first 2 Snake Life books.
Yeah. So could you share that with I don't know? Do you have a specific list, like if people who want to pick up the book, they can read and listen along?
I do, but not pulled up right now. I could probably post it in the chat or something a little bit.
All right. All right. So
No,
how did you,
Travis,
Yes.
you're asking him so many questions.
Yeah,
I want to know more about Shinjuku
classic
Shadows.
deflection here. It's a
we're coming
I'm not
to
having
that. We colluded in advance to sort of plan out how we were going to do this.
Oh.
So, we
Okay.
talked.
And you guys showed so much more forethought than I did about this whole
I
thing.
know, right?
Well done.
All right, continue on.
All right. So, I do want to talk. You've got this amazing world that's or maybe it's more appropriate to say worlds. So, how did you put all that together? How did you build the world for this series?
So, I started out thinking about the 9 worlds of the world tree. So you had Midgard, Helheim, you had the various worlds in Norse mythology. And then I started out with those. And then from there, I thought, well, I need to build on top of this because I can't just use these 9 worlds. So I created the first world, Rualia, from the first book. And then from there, it was, all right, so I've done a lot in this world. Now let me make another world specifically for this next arc. And then it just kind of tumbled from there, much like Torga kind of falling a lot. I started writing and I set about creating a world for a specific purpose. And once that purpose is done, he goes to another world. Now he does backtrack some, he does go to alternate worlds, like he goes to Asgard quite a few times. But even with Asgard, I didn't want to just take the carbon copy like you see in like movies sometimes. Like, if you look at the MCU's Asgard, it's a normal, it's what it is. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted Asgard to be its entire world, and then it had a city also named Asgard. And I wanted to create all of this so that it would kind of flow better with Torga's story. That may or may not have been because I wanted something awesome to happen in the book with involving Torga. But it ended up pretty cool, at least I think so. But yeah,
there's no doubt. I'm sure it's awesome because how can it not be, right?
Yeah,
that just sounds amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So let's get over to you. I do want to ask you some questions. So, what can we expect action-wise in your book? Like, what are the fight scenes? How did you think of them? Like, what's going on there?
The kind of action that's in this book is in these books is a combination of martial arts and magic. The main character is sort of a master of, not a master of both, but very adept at both. So his fighting style is a combination of sort of magic infused blades and defenses and martial arts moves and tactics. So that's the action scenes are pretty close in. There's not a whole lot of ranged artillery in these books. So, and that's the way I like it. And that's all comes, and it's all built on like my own martial arts experience and my experience as a black magician. Oh,
that's cool. How long were you a martial artist? Like how long? Well,
I still am. I haven't gotten much chance to practice since the pandemic started, but I've been sort of dabbling in various martial arts throughout since college. Most recently, ninjutsu. So I just think it's fascinating. All the aspects of like judo and jujitsu and ninjutsu and how they're all sort of an aikido and how they're all basically branches of the same tree. I just think that is super cool.
It definitely is. I 100% agree with that. So your characters, did you base them on anyone? Did you make them up on the spot? Like how did the characters come to life in your book?
Oh, the characters. Wow. The characters are, all of my characters are kind of always, I borrow bits and pieces from people I know. I guess, I mean, even the main character Django, who's half Japanese, half Chinese, but he's from Hawaii. And I know some people with those sort of mixed ethnicities, but they're still American. But then you take and you place them in Japan, they're still very much a fish out of water because they look Asian, but Django doesn't speak Japanese very well. So that immediately makes him an outsider. So that's the kind of stuff I like to play with. I borrow a name here and a personality there and just mix it all up in my brain. That's where my characters come from.
It's awesome.
Hey, sorry guys, I would hate to cut you off, but we want to make sure that.
Is there one last thing you want to add on either of your parts before we go? Not go, but go on.
Move on. Okay.
I think I'm good. How about you, Travis?
I think I'm fine.
Well, thank you guys so much. If you guys have not read either of these books, Snake's Life, pick it up. It's a great monster MC perspective, awesome mechanics, and Travis's Tokyo Blood Magic is just an amazing urban fantasy cultivation mashup. And seriously, Travis is such a good writer, and such a good storyteller, and it really just bleeds through on the page. So check out both of those books. You will not be sorry. We don't publish bad books, and so make sure to check those out.
Yep.
All right, who we got next? Drum roll. I literally don't know.
Next?
Oh no, are we doing okay?
Yeah, I'm going to show the covers just one more time because they're so awesome.
They are.
And then up next we will have. Well, let me finish this. Okay, so beautiful Tokyo Blood Magic and Tokyo Monster Mash.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it keep doing? It's killing me, Smalls. Killing me. And then we got the new Snake's Rise cover on there. First time out in public. Coming out soon, next month. Right?
That's right.
March?
Yeah.
March. Not February.
No.
March.
What? Yes.
Whatever.
We know what we're
Sometime
doing.
soon.
We're competent adults. Don't look at us that way.
I should have put the published dates on the PowerPoint. Yeah, Ellie's like, yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. It's all good. It's all good. All right. So coming up next, we have Gage Lee and Mark Stallings.
We've been informed that they also coordinated beforehand, and it involves day drinking. So that's all I have. I don't know. Gage Lee, if you don't know him, he is the author of the amazing School of Sword and Serpent series that follows Jace and all of the shenanigans. Gage will tell you about that. And then we also have the amazing and affable Mark. We have to show covers. Oh, all right. I'm always jumping my gun here, man.
I'm feeling rushed. Feeling rushed already.
Yeah, he is. He's rushing the whole thing. Okay, so Infinite Core is out already. That's something you can go pick up. And Eternal Core is as well. This is my favorite. Oh my gosh, my phone is blowing up. I'm sorry, guys. This is my favorite cover. Like, I think top 5 ever. But I just love how this cover has all of the other covers in the broken glass. I think it's so cool. When we got the sketch back, I was like, oh my God, I want this on my wall.
I was a little nervous when the artist came back with the sketch, and I was like, man, it could end up looking really cluttered. And I was wrong. I mean, it looks so cool where we have all of these different Jaces sort of, displayed throughout the series. And then this final character bringing them together, I think it's just amazing, and it matches the book really well.
Yep.
Which is a great series.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Are you ready now?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay.
I was born ready.
Mark Stallings.
Book 1,
The Elements, came out this last year.
Silver Coin Saga, and book 2 is going to be out this year. We don't have the final cover yet.
But we have
rough
rough color to share with you guys.
No, this is final color, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, whatever.
So this is the final artwork with color, no title treatment, and I again am thrilled with the way that this one turned out. So let's go ahead and throw that up on the screen there.
Look at that!
Boom!
Look at that sexiness!
So awesome!
It is so awesome.
It's very fancy.
Yeah, so Mark pitched Jess and I this idea, and I was secretly behind closed doors. I was like, Jess, this idea is not going to work. This cover's going to look terrible. There's no way we're going to get all these animals on there with too many colors. It's going to look cramped and awful. And Jess was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's run it by the artist, see what they can do. And then he came back with this, and I was like, well, I'm a dummy, and I don't know what I'm doing. This is amazing. So I am glad to be proven wrong because I am in love.
And
with
once
this
it gets
cover.
that title treatment on there,
Now
it's gonna be really amazing. So all right, let me not do that.
Let's pull up Mark and Gage and let them have at the
replace pin. All right, replacing pin. All right, Mark, you're on. Gage is not doing camera today, so it doesn't really matter.
No, we're
going to still get him up there.
All right.
So. You didn't want to be
broadcasting from an undisclosed location. So
you didn't want to be a potato head or something?
No potato heads. I was almost a coronavirus. I was very close, but then my computer was like, "That's a lot of work for 10 minutes, so we're not going to do that."
The secret writer cave.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm about to take it on the road.
So tell everybody about yourself, Gage.
I write things. I write a lot of things. Last year, I wrote mostly School of Swords and Serpents, which just wound up with book 6, Eternal Core. That was an experience. I don't know that I'll do 6 books in the same series again like that, but it was fun. And it turned out pretty good, if I say so myself. I'm ramping up for a big 2021 with lots more books, so keep your eyes peeled, peoples. How about you, Mark? What are you up to?
Well, let's not drift off of that topic real quick. So you finished up a 6-book series.
Yes.
Schools of Swords and Serpents. So, that was a lot of time to put out all of those books. So how are you feeling now that series has come to the end?
It's bittersweet, right? Like I lived with Jace and Clem and Abby and the rest of those characters for so long that it was hard to think about not writing them again for a while. And as I got closer and closer to the end, I dragged my feet more and more because I knew that the next book wouldn't have any of those cool dudes to fall back on. But at the same time, when you write in the same world for long enough, it starts to gain a weight that's kind of outside your control. So it was nice to get out from underneath that at the same time. So I didn't have to worry about something I'd written one line of 8 months ago. So, yeah.
Well, I'm tracking all the characters and the arcs and all of that. So with what you learned in that 6-book series, how does that go into your next project?
So I think the main takeaway I had from School of Swords and Serpents was that sometimes you need to be able to step back and see a little humor in things once in a while. School of Swords and Serpents got pretty heavy pretty quick and stayed that way through the end. So I'm trying to have a lighter hand, I guess, in the next series and have a little more fun with things instead of getting so bogged down in earth-shattering plots and treacherous mysteries.
Do you want to tell everybody what you're working on next?
So I am just about to finish the first book in a new series called Dragon Academy, which is it's another cultivation series, but this one focuses on a group of dragons and the one human who gets to go to their school. So it's more traditional fantasy than School of Swords and Serpents was, but at the same time, it has a lot of more exotic elements, I guess is a good way to put it. There's a lot more traveling to different places. The setting is a lot different. And when you have main characters who are dragons, things get shaken up a lot. So, but yeah, that should be out hopefully in a few months.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for that project.
I'm digging it. And so far, the cover sketches are looking fantastic, so I can't wait to show those to you guys. But yeah, it's going well.
Yeah, I got to see a sneak peek of that, and they look amazing.
yeah, Shadow Alley's artists really do knock it out of the park. Even whenever I turn over my hastily scrawled crayon ideas for what they should put on the cover, they manage to make them look good. So what's going on with the Silver Coin Saga, Mr. Mark?
So Silver Coin Saga, yeah, I'm eyeballs deep into book 2, which is going to be the animals. You guys got to see the cover for that. And basically, it's also a Magic Academy with kind of a long-term fantasy feel. But book 2 is like your second year at college. The characters are a little more comfortable with going to class and finding out where things are, and so then they get to focus more on learning what they're trying to do and expanding their skills. And I know it's going to be a surprise, but if you read book 1, you know that somebody's trying to kill the main character, and so we get to find out a little bit more about who's actually holding the knife.
Do they get away with it? Does he get killed?
He does not get killed.
No, you're not going to pull a George Martin?
It's a spoiler.
Oh.
And most importantly, for the last time I killed a character and surprised the editors, if I do it again, I'm not going to tell you.
That's better than me. I've had editors tell me I have to kill a character. It's a very interesting position.
Well, I haven't run into that yet, so.
Oh, Kelly will eventually get it to you. She'll eventually, if you work with her, she'll make you kill somebody. So what was your inspiration for writing Silver Coin Saga? Sorry about that. My allergies are killing me.
Growing up, I always read epic fantasy, obviously Tolkien. One of my favorite authors, David Eddings, with his Belgariad series. And getting into Robert Jordan. Yeah, pointing at you, Joseph. I loved the high fantasy, long, complex. You got a hero going from dirt to powerful, killing people along the way, fighting the baddies, except for with Robert Jordan. He got sick. He did a cash grab. I don't really understand what the deal was, but as a reader, I felt almost betrayed. And so what I wanted to do, when James approached me about, looking at writing this series, I really wanted to put together something that satisfied a reader all the way through the series. So as long as the readers keep reading, I'll keep writing, and we have a lot of books in the pipe.
Very cool. Very cool. So you mentioned book 2 is coming out. You've got some assassins going on in there, and other mayhem for your main character. Is there anything else you want to tell people without letting me trick you into giving out any more spoilers?
Well, like some of the other authors here, I have a background in martial arts, and so for this series, I'm stealing heavily from one of the Chinese martial arts, Xing Yi. So you'll get to see a little bit more about animals and animal-styled martial arts and where that came from and how the characters apply it. Not in nitty-gritty detail, but enough that hopefully you won't go out and fight your postman or something.
It's not a how-to manual?
No.
That's a bummer. I was really hoping I would learn.
Entertainment. That if you really want to learn martial arts, I recommend finding a local dojo and go crazy.
All right. Well, that sounds cool. I don't know. You got anything else you want to tell people?
Thank you for reading. Thank you for supporting Shadow Alley Press. And then I think at this point, I'll ask you, is there anything you want to convey out to the studio audience?
If you haven't read School of Swords and Serpents, now is a great time to go buy all 6 books. You can get the whole story. No cliffhangers. 0 cliffhangers.
And
if you buy
5 of them are out on audiobook.
That's true. And I got to say, the guy that does the audio is amazing. He makes my words sound very nice. So yeah. Other than that, I guess we'll be punctual and turn this over to other people.
All right.
Man, you guys nailed that.
You guys nailed it.
Actually stayed on time.
Well done.
See, that's the success for day drinking.
All right. I'm going to try and spotlight us forever we run so that you guys can just see our pug. Get your little face up here.
Macaroni.
No, Mom, I don't want to.
What?
For anyone
He's
who
hiding.
for
This
anyone
is
who
Macaroni.
reads the Rogue Dungeon series, this is Macaroni. the inspiration for macaroni. So this is him. Look at his charming face. He's a beautiful boy. He's got lots of camera appeal. He's got lots of camera appeal.
Looking at in 2021, we're going to be upping our meme game, and this dog is going to be like front and center in the memes.
No, he's a good-looking boy.
He is hilarious.
He's a good-looking boy. He's got it going on.
He is. All right, let me share our screen again. Bum-ba-da-da.
You want to get down?
He's so cute. All right. There's Mark's hotness.
Shit all over my shirt.
Don't worry, lint doesn't show up on camera.
Thank you.
That's what he told me earlier when my shirt was super linty. He's like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, where is the tape? It's like, it doesn't show up. It's fine. And then Gage Lee's School of Sword and Serpents.
Such a good series, guys. Seriously, go just do yourself a favor. Buy all 6 books immediately.
Yep. All right, up next we have someone that is brand new.
Oh, yeah.
Not released yet. Coming out into the world. Very exciting. Ameye, Godhand. Mm-hmm. And then we have, she's partnering with David. Where is he at? There he is. Okay. I couldn't find him. Is he sleeping? David, are you sleeping?
No, he's definitely.
He looks so calm and peaceful. All right. So
you don't understand what's happening in my brain.
No, you're fine. Ameye has been with us. Has been a Shadow Alley Press cheerleader from before I think Shadow Alley Press even was really a thing. We met Ameye at Mile High Con in Denver. And she helped James run his booth.
That was my first con ever. I was very bad at selling
I don't think I was
things.
there. I think I was at home with our son and daughter. And so Ameye came along and helped him handle things. And so she has just been a cheerleader and been a part of our business for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And we're super excited that her book is getting ready to come out. We're very excited. So this art is the art is finished, but we don't have title treatment on here yet, but we wanted to show you guys
just a little sneak peek.
So here is this. So Ameye is writing or has written a story in the Viridian Gate Online universe about a cleric. I'm not going to tell you more than that because she's going to tell you all about it, but this is the cover for that. And then
Sans title treatment.
Songs. Anyway. So, and then she's partnering with David. Okay, you're going to have to tell me. Sanchez-Ponton?
Yes, close enough. Let's go with that.
Okay, that's not right, but go ahead with that. And he wrote Dungeon Heart. So he's got his cover art for book 2 in the background. Somehow we just didn't, since it's not finished, we don't have it in here, but I think we just got it back. So,
but he's
let me put up Dungeon Heart book 1.
Debut novelist as well. His book came out, I think, a month ago.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And it's done amazingly well. #1 bestseller, debut author, absolutely crushing it, and for good reason, because it's a really, really excellent book. I have always had a soft spot for Dungeon Core, and I won't say more, but David really does an excellent Dungeon Core novel with some great characters.
So I'm gonna pin you guys so that people can see that wonderful cover that is in your background, David.
Excellent.
All right, and then let me add Miss M. Oh, there she is in here. Oh, and remove myself. I do not need to be in there. All right, there we go.
All right, well, welcome, guys. Jump right in. Tell us about yourselves and about your books.
All right. Well, I think I'll start with the introduction then, if that's okay. I'm David. I usually write from Canada. That's quite cold right there right now. I'm very glad I'm not there at the moment. I'm in a little bit of a vacation, but I'll be moving soon to New Mexico, where I will continue to write Dungeon Heart. The second installment, which you can see here on my background, it's going to be The Mystery of the Maze. And it's already about 70% done. I would say it's about 70% done. And compared to what it was in Royal Road, it's a lot, it's changed from what it used to be in a good way, I think so. And thanks to Shadow Alley, it's actually going to be much more expansive of a universe than it used to be. I'm gonna switch over. Emily, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Emily Godhand. I'm basically the resident medic. I'm a nurse in real life, and then I've always mained healers. So I was really excited when I pretty much showed up at James' house with a sandwich and said, "Hey, here's some lunch. I'm going to pitch a story to you." And he's like, "Okay, well, I mean, you have until I finish the sandwich." So then I just kept his attention long enough, even after the sandwich, and he didn't stay true to his word. And then I've just been following them around since and telling them about the story, and apparently everyone likes it. So I wrote about a healer because I didn't see enough healers in the VGO universe. And I was like, "James, why aren't there more healers in VGO?" And he was like, "Well, that's a good question. You should put that in the story." So I
did. So actually, do you mind if I get us started, Emily?
Go ahead.
All right. So we were talking about this briefly just before the interview. And one of the things that came up is that we both play video games, and she's generically, when she was saying she was a healer generally, she was not kidding. She's like, every healer that I know of, she's played it. And she was trying to explain to me, and failing, I think, to explain just how difficult it is to be a real healer. Because I'm usually just the idiot that charges ahead and usually dies. And she's the person that tries to keep me from dying. So why don't you tell me, based on that, why don't you tell me a little bit about what the main theories of the story is, aside from just, the generic healing character that you see in a video game?
So one of the things that I really wanted to do with the story was, oftentimes you see like the memes where like people's perception of healers, they'll be like, "Oh, well, I have this tearful speech about hope and love, and I hope my heals are good enough." And it's like, that's not what we're like. We're not these passive. We don't just hit the heal button and then everything's fine. And healing's boring because you just hit the heal button and there's no stakes. And it's like, have you ever played a healer? Have you ever tried to like wrangle the cats that is your party and keep them from standing in the fire and trying to keep them from running ahead? And you're just like, if you pull it, you tank it, and how frustrating that is. And then actual healers in real life and in video games, we kind of have that salty, sour Galler's humor where we're just done with everyone from trying to keep everyone alive. And so that kind of like played into my character where she, does the math of how do you actually play a character and play it well. Like if you read the book, you could almost go and, up your game in any healing MMO where you don't just hit the heal button. You have to actually like think about how would you do this. It gets a little complex. And then the character herself, she's just fun. I mean, she's drunk half the time or flirting with the hot lady inquisitor the other time, but she tries to cope with the fact that everyone keeps dying around her and it's her job to stop that.
Okay, so that sounds like a challenge that most healers would have, in my opinion, just trying to like keep everyone from not insta dying. But is that the only challenge that your character faces?
No, so oh my gosh, so like she has, like, if life's a party, she's the piñata. She's just had a rough time of it. Like, it happens in the VGO universe. So for spoilers to anyone who hasn't read the back of Cataclysm, there's this asteroid coming towards Earth, and everyone in humanity pretty much has to use these all-smart technology capsules to go play Viridian Gate Online, and humanity just uploads themselves into the game. So everyone else got to do that. But Lisette, Dr. Chen is this doctor in a Manhattan at the end of the world, and she's trying to keep it open. Like, everyone's going to die anyway, but the point is that while we have the time, we should take care of each other. So that's what she does. Then she finds out that all of her coworkers, who she thought had gone home or had just disappeared or given up, got into this game and got on the lifeboat without her. So then she's forced to go into the game by events as well. And she has a few questions for them, like, what the hell, guys? And why would you do this? And, so they end up, she ends up trying to find, and hunt them down throughout the story. And she comes across two different opposing factions. One is the temple that she joins as a priestess. She becomes a priestess of Gaia, and the temple isn't necessarily in congruence with her actual beliefs. And then she meets these darklings, this whole darkling sect that has been spreading this deadly plague that affects travelers and NPCs alike. And so she just can't catch a break. She thought that she could come in and this would be fine, and we just play this game. But no, death still follows her. And so she's torn between these two different factions and trying to find a, like some sort of community between them. Like, what is her purpose here? It's like she's been lost and abandoned, and so she's trying to find more people. And she doesn't really know who the good guys are at that point. And so it's like, how do you heal a broken world like that, where no one can really seem to agree on what the right thing to do is?
Sounds a little bit like there's almost some basis to this, or there's some real world examples you were using, because that's kind of where this is to be going.
So, in dramatic irony, I had come up with the story in 2018, and I had actually gotten 65,000 words into it in January. And then the pandemic hit, and that really seemed to line up a little too closely for my comfort writing in the story. And I kind of had this like existential crisis of like, no one's going to want to read a story about a pandemic and feeling alone and isolated, and like you don't have that connection to other people while they're living it. And
surprise, this happened.
Surprise! So I ended up going to New York, and like, how could I write about a character from New York when New York itself needed help? So I went up to New York, and I worked in the Bronx and Manhattan for a bit as a nurse helping with the pandemic. And when I came back home, I kind of used the book to process a little bit, where I was like, no, this is the book that people need, because we have been feeling isolated and as if like, what is the right thing to do, and not really having that connection to people. And so this character, who that's her journey, is finding that connection to people, like a healthy connection to people, and maintaining that, and trying to find like this light in the darkness. And I mean, you see in the cover, she's a priest. She's like, well, I'll just make my own light then. And so she kind of provides that hope to people in VGO. And one of the interesting things that I wanted to bring up was, the original VGO followed like the Crimson Alliance and Jack. She's Imperial. She's this Imperial Dawn Elf. She's actually on the opposing side. So we get to see a little bit about the Imperials, along with kind of like, the origins of the Darklings, and why would someone become a Darkling, and what would motivate them to do that. So we get to see a little bit more in the universe, some of these things that just from the different side of it.
Okay. Well, then in that case, I have just one last question, because I actually want to know, based on everything you've said, it sounds like it has a lot of real life connections, and your whole aspect with being a nurse and like how it connects to the actual story. My last question is going to be like, what's the most emotion you felt with that book? Because it feels like there's a lot of little strings pulling towards the same thing, but I just really want to know, what is the thing that you are like, this kind of like pulled at my heart?
It's hard to find like one specific scene, because there's a bunch of them. I mean, without trying to give spoilers, there's the one where she has to give up everything that she's worked for, and she's just so frustrated with that. Like, having to start over when you've worked so hard on something is really frustrating. And I think that, I kind of felt that, because I didn't totally have to do that with the story or anything. And then also, when she's finally found, like this is the woman who feels lost and like abandoned, and she's kind of bitter and resentful. But when she gets in, she ends up becoming a priestess of Gaia, and Gaia finds her. And the emotion of being like, I'm here, I'm safe, like someone is looking out for me, things are going to be okay. That was kind of just like a big relief moment for her, to be like, okay, I'm here, like I'm home, like I can put, come weary traveler, put your baggage down. And then she gets charged with, okay, but now that I found you, you need to find the others. You need to go out and help others as you've been helped. And so that kind of like drives her as a character. And it doesn't always work out. I mean, like she tries to reach out to people, but sometimes they make their own bad choices and you can't really like do anything for them. So that you get to feel like her frustration and grief of like, come on, man, like you got 1,000 moms to hold you. You're not going to reach out. Like we got you, just come here. And then you get people who are just cruel and evil, and she tries to fit in with them where trying to get along because that's what society expects of her, but she does not belong there at all. And then she feels that isolation and abandonment all over again. But this is what the system is. And so she's like, well, maybe I'm the crazy one then, like maybe they're right, but they're not. But it drives her to madness. So there's all these like small different feelings in it of her just yearning and trying to find like just some sort of peace and sense of belonging in the world.
Okay. Well, fair enough. That does seem like it has a heavy aspect.
But it's funny.
Okay, I'll believe it. I'll take it from you.
There's in the opening, she's all frustrated with trying to run the hospital, and one of the EMTs is just like, like, Dr. Chen, chill, like, you've been losing your patients a lot lately. And she's like, oh no, I've only lost one patient today.
Oh dear.
A dark comedy then.
I mean, she gets the group of clerics together and calls them the Amen.
Oh boy.
So,
very funny.
So passing it back to David here, tell us a little bit more about Dungeon Heart and Smith, who obviously is the rockin' stone dwarf dude that we see there, who also becomes the dungeon core. Tell us a little bit about him and what he does and sort of his journey in the dungeon.
Right. Okay. So Smith was designed originally to be, the old sort of like Clint Eastwood character without the guns and a paintbrush instead, or a chisel in his case. He was just grumpy, didn't want to have anything to do with anybody. He didn't care about anybody. He was just wanted to be left the hell alone. And he kind of got to do that, and then he ended up regretting it. And unlike most of the original, isekai and sort of revival stories, he didn't get to go to a different world, right? He got tossed back into his own world, except now he is a monster creating, quote unquote, machine that has to survive. And it kind of just evolves into a just leave me alone, please. But he never gets that wish, sort of thing.
But I think it's also so great because he's also this master craftsman, like before he dies. And that's one of the things that in a lot of dungeon cores you don't necessarily see a whole lot of, is the life before and how that plays in. Like a lot of times in dungeon core novels, like the protagonist gets turned into a dungeon core and doesn't really remember who they are or what they are or have the skills, but he is this master craftsman. And so he brings a lot of that into the table, which I think is a unique twist.
That is actually a huge part of the story because he's a little bit OCD. He's the opposite of me in some senses because, I am scatterbrained. I think of 100 different things at the same time. And I will skip my story when I'm talking with someone and be doing one thing and then another one and another and another. And no one really knows what I'm doing except for me inside my own head. Whereas Smith is very detailed oriented, and he's like, this will be perfect and it will be aesthetically pleasing. Even if you're dying, the last thing that you will say is aesthetics.
That sounds amazing. So like, what sort of challenges does the dungeon master, I'm not sure what they call in dungeon core, what sort of challenges does he face as it becomes this dungeon?
Well, the main challenge is essentially that because he's aware that he's a dungeon core now, and he's aware, as by virtue of being a master blacksmith and craftsman, he knows that adventurers dive into dungeons all the time to try to get artifacts, items, resources, or even the dungeon core itself, which essentially means that he could die at any time that an adventurer decides to go in his dungeon. So his main challenge is to survive and live a free life without being conquered, destroyed, or taken over by someone else. And as the story develops, he also starts to gain a family. And he never had a family really in the past. His parents have been dead for ages. He never married. He never had kids. He never even had a mistress. Nothing like that. He was just a lonely old man who liked to do his job, and that's the only thing he liked to do. And as he gains a family, he's like, oh, now I have to take care of them too. So how to deal with that is sort of a discovery of like his humanity in a sense. So that's kind of what there goes.
He had to become a dungeon in order to gain some humanity. That's really interesting. Like, what sort of family or allies would a dungeon have? Like, how does that come about? Are there any like in particular that you really like or think are interesting?
Oh yeah, I really like his children. So essentially, the main protagonist is Smith, and then he has his children, which are monsters that have gained a soul and sentience, and they are. And it's great to write about them because they are essentially children, despite the fact that some of them grow to be like massive in size, right? They've just been recently created. They don't know much about the world. All they know is that this is their dad and they love their dad and they don't want anyone to hurt their dad. So he's never been exposed to that. So it's this development of like him becoming a father and them understanding that their father is vulnerable to anyone that kind of drives the story.
That's really cute, and like he's never like known what it's like to be loved, so he gets the. So what would you say like the tone of the story is? Is it more serious? Is it more funny?
It really is all over the place. That's the thing, because when I was writing this, I was trying to think like, well, it starts really kind of sad on the first chapter and just the way you see a little bit of his past life, then it becomes like a mystery sort of thing of a playground, like what is happening, what can I do? And then it changes without warning. It just switches into like danger, like, oh no, high tension action, there's someone diving into my dungeon. And then it goes like, family, and then back to danger again. So it's essentially what the life of a real protagonist that is always experiencing new things and discovering about who self should be. And it's not just the highlights as it walks you through like everything he builds and why he thinks of certain things and like the thought process that he has as an artist.
So I'm just going to step in here real quick. We do have one more thing that we need to cover, and we've been going a little long. Not just you guys, literally everyone, because this has been so much fun. So is there any last, I know, right? Just blame James. Is there any last things that you guys want to mention?
Well, I mean, David, I know you have book 2 coming out.
On my side, the only thing that I want to mention. Sorry,
it's okay. There was just a delay.
Yes.
But, yeah, go ahead.
You have book 2 coming out. Do you have any news about that you can tell us, or anywhere that we can follow you besides the SAP website or Facebook to learn more about when it's coming out?
Yes. So if you want to hear more news or ask me direct questions, you can just go to Twitter at heart_dungeon, because Dungeon Heart was taken. And you can ask questions there. And I'm thinking of releasing my book somewhere in let's see, January, February, March, end of March, somewhere there is probably going to be where this book is released. What about for you? Do you have anything left to say? Anything?
I'll hand it over to the boss lady before she yells at us again.
Okay.
You guys are awesome. All right, let me share these amazing covers one more time, just for prosperity. So we got Dungeon Heart, and then David's got book 2.
Pick it up. It's so good. You won't regret it.
And then Emily's upcoming. Woo! Yep. Resurrection, right? Is the title on that one, Em? Yep. Just don't have title yet.
Yeah, so be looking for that. BGO Resurrection.
So up next, we have some very big and exciting news. I see DJ is preparing his background for said big and exciting news. Authors out there will have heard of this, but I think this is the first time that we're really talking about this in a
unless you're on my Patreon
forum. Yeah, if you're on James's Patreon, you've seen some of this art coming in. We're very excited to announce that we have been working on a Viridian Gate Online from the Illusionist series. If you're familiar with that, there's a game they play in there called Gentleman's War, and we are making that happen. So I'm going to go on to the next page here so you can see some of the art that is coming from this. It's pretty dang exciting.
So the actual
I don't want you guys to talk too much because I'll pin you.
Okay.
So DJ and James are going to talk in just a minute, but I want to go through. So I'm going to let you talk, and then we'll do the card reveals.
No, let's do the card reveals first.
Are you sure? Okay, card reveals. So this is an example of the back. Obviously, at this big, it looks a little grainy, but they're not going to be this big because they're meant for the back of cards.
Now, all of the cards. So it's a full deck of 52 cards, and there's an accompanying game, Gentleman's War, that you can play with it. But you could also play it for any other game that requires a regular standard deck of cards. But unlike a lot of regular card decks out there, where only the trump card. Well, I know, but I want to explain this. Where only the trump cards are illustrated, all the cards are fully illustrated. And DJ and I took the liberty of including some authors in the cards, some notable folks from the universe, and also some of our author.
Don't get too excited if you're an author watching this, because we're only revealing DJ's and James's today. But we'll give you a little sneak peek of what you can expect.
Yeah. So we have some cards.
This is James's.
It is the Inkslinger card. So that's mine. Sticks and stones can break bones, but words topple empires. So that's the Inkslinger card. And then DJ's is, of course, the Mimic. If you guys are familiar with this series, he has Nil, who is a humanoid mimic who travels around the land doing mischievous and nefarious things. And so naturally, DJ would be in the monster suit of mimics. So
let's pin. Sorry, you guys are still in the spotlight. Let me fix that and get DJ and James up here for just a moment. There's DJ. Spotlight. And where did we go? We disappeared. Oh no. What the heck? Oh, there we are. Okay, there's too many people on here. All right, there we go.
So DJ's been spearheading this, a lot of this. He's been working to get the art. I mean, we've certainly been involved, but DJ has done a lot of the heavy lifting on this project, and we are really excited. But I want to turn it over to him and just let him kind of share all of the stuff that's going on.
Sure. So I was actually pretty stoked to work on this with James and Jeanette. It's not something that SAP had done before, so I think the initial reaction, if I'm not mistaken, was like panicked, like how do we do this? And for me, it was also panicked, like how do we do this? And how do we do something that's when you think of games like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon cards, where we really want to have that level of really nice, fun art where you just like kind of want to stare at those cards for like hours. And have the cool flavor text at the bottom, and really for it to be a collector's item, right? So when we're thinking of having gold foil over the edges and have it be something that you, with a really nice tuck box that you would want to own, it was important to us that it really kind of capture the core of the VGO world. I think, VGO is just an awesome universe to write in, and it has so many interesting characters and monsters and creatures and factions that we wanted to make sure that we brought all that together in a way where people would be able to see kind of for the first time a lot of these characters kind of really beautifully rendered by the artists we were working with. And James and I kind of went back and forth on like which cards would we include, what would they be about, how would we balance the decks, which, out of the monsters, which ones should be like an ace and which one should be like a 2, which is a green slime, by the way. You'll get to see that someday. And how do we bring that all together into something that it wouldn't just be even if you just play a normal card game, right? So the game of Gentleman's War has been described as a mixture of the traditional game of war and bullshit, where ultimately cheating is encouraged, just like it is in the books. And what we really wanted to do was give people a really nice, well done deck of cards. I'm not going to say no expenses spared, but they're really nice. That playing the game with these cards in your hands would tell a story in of itself. And then if you look at it in the third book in Alan's series, Inquisitor's Full, you can actually see them playing this game where the story behind the game actually replaces the game. In terms of Gentleman's War itself, just like Portal Mage, which James and I have on Patreon, knock knock, is set 17 years after Cataclysm. The events around Gentleman's War are actually set in 650 AIC. So the VGO main games are in the 900s, and this goes back to when the city of Ankara was kind of falling apart, where smugglers and Afka dealers and the Legion and the Inquisitors and the Merc Elves, who were in the middle of a civil war, you'll remember, because of the Nan Creed, were all basically fighting over Ankara as this kind of trading hub and city. And this lone merchant prince comes back and tries to take back his city. But he's the last member of his line, right? So he can't just like go toe to toe with the Legion. And it's not like one of those situations, just like in war, where high card wins. You have to use subterfuge, you have to be smart about it, and you have to cheat. And that's kind of the story behind Gentleman's War. James?
Yeah, no, I mean, DJ really summed it up well. We've been working on this for almost a year. We have all of the art done, and it is incredible. We've worked with some really, really talented folks to bring it to life. There are 4 suits for those who are curious. We have the Merc Elves, we have the Inquisitors, we have the Thieves. It's a Thieves Union. It's really more of a, just a loose assortment of folks who have common interests. And then, of course, we have the Merc Elves. And like I said, all of the cards are fully illustrated. We're also going to do sort of these table mats that come with it. Our plan is to kickstart it over sometime in March, I think, is when we're launching the Kickstarter. And we do have, I think Jeanette will share a little thing where you can go and sign up. And nope, not going to say any more about that. But we're planning on kickstarting it. We also have some additional cards that we're talking about working on. If you've again read the Illusionist series, there are also veteran cards which can be swapped into the deck, and they allow you to do special things in the game of Gentleman's War.
I believe our veteran cards are going to be one of our stretch goals.
Yeah, one of our stretch goals is to get the veteran cards done. But I mean, we're just so happy with this. I think that it's so cool. Art is one of my favorite things about the book. Getting to see all of these wonderful creations sort of come to life in this really unique way is really cool. And I think that it really builds out the universe, which is already expansive. The Viridian Gate Online is the largest expanded universe in Lit RPG. And I think that this is a really great addition to that. And hopefully we'll bring a lot of new readers into the books and into the genre. But also that fans will just be able to enjoy, this really cool thing that we're doing. Yeah. We also have some additional stretch goals that we will talk about, but they involve novellas that will sort of cover the creation of Gentleman's War. So anyways, but that's something that'll be announced later on. And man, I'm just thrilled. I am so excited for this to go live later this year because I really think that it's cool and unique, and there's not anything quite like it out there on the market, especially in ours.
So for Gentleman's War, we are looking to launch our Kickstarter in March, but we are hoping to have a pre-launch Kickstarter page up before that. We're going to be posting this week on probably Shadow Alley Press and all of our main pages, a place that you can go to sign up to get information about Gentleman's War and get updates and whatnot. We had hoped to have that up by today, but fate has worked against us, I believe, in this situation, and that did not happen. So gotta love technical difficulties and website code that does not want to work in your favor. It's like my favorite thing ever. Anyway, if you are dying, you're like, I don't want to have to remember, I need someplace I can go right this second, you can go on the Shadow Alley Press website. Shadow Alley Press will be sharing all of the updates about Gentleman's War as well, and you can sign up for our mailing list there.
If you're not already on our mailing list, sign up and get a free copy of the BGO Side Quest Anthology, which is
You
excellent.
actually get an entire starter library when you sign up for our mailing list, but we don't have to go into all of that.
But we can, because
so you get BGO Side Quest, you're going to get a short story from Path of the Thunderbird series, You're going to get short story from Yancey Lazarus, maybe 2 short stories from Yancey Lazarus. Lots of good stuff.
All kinds of good stuff.
All sorts of shorts. So many that I can't remember it. So that's a good sign. What else do we have to add? Oh, should we tell about authors in the card?
I mentioned it earlier on that we have we have several authors in the genre that we've reached out to and we've talked with behind the scenes, and we're
not sharing them today because they have not seen them yet. Their unboxing will be coming soon. I hope within the next month.
I kind of want to show. Hold on, I'm gonna go just get a scroll.
No. Yeah. No, you're ruining that. I'm going to cut the feed if he comes back in here with this.
Oh, fine.
Don't.
You're ruining my fun.
No, you're ruining the surprise.
I just wanted to shit.
Ruining the surprise.
Fine. My wife is right.
This school tried to show everyone their card. And I was like, bro, what are you doing?
I love them. I love it. Anyways, we have a bunch of authors in the genre that have been turned into various cards throughout the suits. None of the authors have seen any of their cards, and we are going to be sending out specialty packages for all of the authors involved.
So if you're an author that's involved, keep your eye out.
Keep your eyes out. It's you're gonna get a special quest item, and hopefully we like all the authors to do unboxings and enjoy the awesomeness that is the Gentleman's Ward cards. I butchered that last sentence. I don't know what's happening right now.
Right.
My mouth is working. Am I having a stroke? I don't know what's going on. All right. Let's kick it back to DJ here.
You have anything to wrap up on Gentleman's Ward, DJ?
Yeah, I'd just say if you enjoyed playing Gwent along with The Witcher 3, if you enjoyed playing Hearthstone along with Warcraft, this is the Gwent of Viridian Gate Online. We hope you'll really enjoy it. And if you're fiending for a VGO fix in the meantime, you can go to James's Patreon page or mine, Patreon at /djbodden.com. We've got about a full novella's worth of Portal Mage episodes out there, with number 7 coming out at end of January.
Yep.
It's a glare.
James has to write that. That's the glare. All right. I'm going to unpin and share those cards one more time, and then we will wrap up. They're just so cool to look at. I really wanted to show the whole deck today, but we can't have spoilers.
We can't. It's going to be part of our Kickstarter launch.
Yep.
So yeah, there they are, the Inslinger and the Mimic, and lots more cool art to come. Again, if you want to see some early sneak peek art, you can always sign up to my Patreon, and please sign up to the Shadow Valley Press mailing list. Find out about all of these projects, all of these books, all of this stuff, special offers, giveaways. We advertise all that stuff in our mailing list. So if you like the types of books and the types of products that we put out, and you want to stay in the loop, that is the absolute best place to do it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks to all of the authors who took time out of their weekend to come on here and gab with us. Thanks to all of the readers and listeners.
Without the readers and listeners, we would not be anywhere without you guys.
We can't do it. You guys allow us to continue to do this even during really difficult times, and we thank you so much for letting us have this awesome wonky job where we get to tell stories and play with our imaginary friends. We literally could not do this without you guys, and thank you guys for supporting Shadow Valley Press.
I'm going to remove the spotlight just so everyone, oh goodness. I thought I would be able to remove the spotlight and have everyone up on the screen again, but apparently I bejiggered that. Hello, DJ. I was trying to get a spotlight where everyone was here, but I guess I'm not going to do that. So I was going to have everyone say goodbye in their little mini
screens, their little mini bubbles here.
But here we are.
All right.
Music.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you again for watching, and staying tuned to our 2021 Expo, and stay tuned for lots of great content.
Yep.
Thank you.
Have a great one, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.